Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to the Most High. His name in the Hebrew is Yahweh, meaning He exists. And I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shai, which is the Son, the only begotten Son. His name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shai, meaning He is salvation. He is our deliverer. Okay. And He's coming back for His people. Okay, His people consist of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, okay, whose seed line goes back to the forefathers of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and down to the 12 patriarchs, the sons of Jacob. All right. Before I go any further, I'd like to say give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, okay, who were endowed with the truth, okay, to through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, okay, to deliver this message to us, the hopeful elect of Israel. You know, Lord willing, I'm one of those men that were chosen, okay, to receive that message and to go out to the highways and byways. And Lord willing, I'm one of those men that He chose to endure till the end. Okay? Because that's the whole point of this thing. You got to endure all the way to the end. Right? And the end is vastly approaching, man. The end is approaching. Right? Esau, Edom, okay, which is the so-called white man, okay, particularly the elites of Esau, Edom, the 13 banking families of the world, okay, who control and dominate this world, and the Lord has given them usherance, given them power to do this, man. According to Job 9:24, the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked, roughly paraphrasing. Okay. And that's why you see the amount of evil, okay, Rayam, that is happening on this planet right now, because the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked. Okay, rulership, dominion, power, okay, is being exercised, okay, by the wicked, because contrary to belief, there's wicked of all nations, but the scriptures point out that there is the wicked, okay, and the wicked are the ones that have rulership over this planet, okay. The Lord's creation is meant for the sons of Jacob, okay. Jacob's name was changed by Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai to Israel. Yasha Rala, Yah meaning He, Shar meaning prince, Allah meaning power. Okay, He, prince of the power. Okay, the sons of the Most High. Okay, and that's who's going to rule, okay, in this next rulership, which the age of rulership that Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai has given to Esau, Edom, and the Idumeans, which is the Greek way of saying Edom, okay, the sons of Esau, the sons of the wicked, because there's 3 classifications of men on this planet. Okay, the sons of men, which are the other nations, okay, the Elamites, the Ammonites, okay, the Moabites, the Hamites, so forth and so on, right? Then you have the sons of the wicked, okay, which are the Edomites, so-called white men, okay, Russians, Americans, okay, the Europeans, right? And then you have the sons of the Most High, okay, the Israelites, right? Okay, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, and the rest of the remnant of Jacob, who are scattered across the four corners of the earth, okay, who may come looking like Hamites and Moabites and, the other ites, but really you can't judge them by just their appearance, because their seed line actually goes back to Jacob, which would not make them a ite, but a light Israelite. You see? So Salakia for the rant, but getting back to this article, okay, it's from IFL Science, okay, it's about 5 days ago, not too long. It says Doomsday clock moves forward to 85 seconds to midnight. The closest it's ever has been. Salakia, the closest it has ever been. All right, and if you don't know what the Doomsday clock is, I'll just do a quick search real quick. All right. It says the Doomsday clock is a symbol that represents the estimated likelihood of a human-made global catastrophe in the opinion of the non-profit organization Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. Okay, and you should already know why it's the atomic scientists are the ones that's conjuring up this timeline. Okay, and it's basically a timeline, okay, to Esau Edom's destruction, right? And the Lord is sovereign like that, to be able to have the very people that's going to suffer that judgment keep up with their own destruction. Okay. Let me see. It says Doomsday Clock is a design that warns the public about how close we are to destroying our world with dangerous technologies Man, don't kick me out this mouth. Well, you get the point. Dangerous technologies. And that dangerous technology, okay, is what the Lord in the scriptures refer to as the destroying wind. And that destroying wind is actually, in our modern time, okay, that's code talk or symbolic talk, okay, for these ICBM nuclear missiles that these nations are in a hurry to build and create, okay, which that'll be my first scripture. Okay, Isaiah 54 and 16. Okay, it says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work." And that's his work, to destroy. Okay, the thief cometh not but for to kill, destroy, steal, and destroy, right? Which all these traits um resonate with the wicked. Okay, they came, they saw, they conquered. They said, right? Vidi vici. I may be pronouncing it wrong, but that's what that means, and I believe in Italian. Okay, they came, they saw, and they conquered. Okay, the Lord made way for them to come across the seas to this land we call America. Okay, which that word goes back to bitter, amah. Okay, that's the Hebrew word I believe for bitter, amah. Okay, which in Creole we say ame. Okay, which means bitter. Okay, they saw the vast amount of resources. Okay, and the amount of you know potentially slaves that they could possess. Okay, and they conquered. How? By exercising the sword. So, you know, the Most High gave them that power, right?
Lucky I had a call come through. Um, but yeah, the Most High um, gave them that power. Okay, Job 9:24, the earth has been given to the hands of the wicked, right? And the power to exercise wickedness has been given to them because that is their role, right? That's their role in this whole grand scheme of things, you know. But getting to this article, it says the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists has announced that the Doomsday clock has been moved forward to 85 seconds to midnight. Now, midnight, represents the end of all things, the end of the world, or rather, not the literal world, but the age of rulership. Okay, this whole power structure where Esau Edom is at the top and Jake is at the bottom. All right, that's what midnight represents when you see midnight in the scriptures. Okay, that's what it represents. Okay, the end of this rulership, this age, this aeon. Aeon in the Greek means an age of rulership. Okay, Matthew 25:6. Okay, says and at midnight there was a cry made, behold, the bridegroom cometh. And that bridegroom is Yahweh Shai. Okay, and midnight is when the height of um everything prophecies spoken in the scriptures, okay, that signifies Yahweh Shai's coming is at the height, if you will. That's like the climax of the movie, when everything culminates to that point where it's a boiling point. It's so good that you can't wait to see what's going to happen. That is the time. And go into it a little bit more. Lord willing, this is edifying. Okay. So it says middle, the midst, in the midst of. Okay. But you get the point. It don't really give me too much, but um, metaphorically, that's what it means. At the height, in the middle of everything that is supposed to happen, including World War III. Okay, the mandate of the sea hip. Okay, sedition happening, people, unaliving each other because of the lack of bread. You know, people being kidnapped and used for ransom, and women are being sold, and people just, just everything in the scriptures. Uh, um, you know, uh, UN troops in the streets. You can't go to a certain city. You running from the authorities. You know, you trying to survive and get something to eat. You know, it's a lot going on, man. So this is the middle, the climax of everything that the scriptures speak about. Okay, because midnight is at the height of the darkness. Okay, and darkness represent, evil, right? The height of the evil, right? Which when day breaks, so to speak, metaphorically, it'll be the rulership, the beginning of the rulership of Yahweh Shai, and our rulership, which is the rulership of the Hebrew Israelites. Okay, New Jerusalem, if you will. All right. It says, and let's look up that term, atomic scientist. Let's see what it says about that. So, okay, atomic scientist. It says bulletin, but I ain't want that. Anyhow, the bulletin of the atomic scientist informs the public about threats to the survival and development of humanity from nuclear weapons. Okay, so just a short, you know. It says the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists has announced that the Doomsday Clock has been moved forward, meaning down, okay, because I believe it was at 90 seconds the year before, to 85 seconds to midnight, to Doomsday, if you will, right? All hell breaking loose. World War III, the chip, you know, people killing each other over food and, whatever else, the government trying to lock people up. And then, in the height of that, you have Yahweh Shai coming back to provide salvation to the elect, and the nations actually turning their attention from each other to Yahweh Shai. Okay. It says the closest it has ever been in the history of the symbolic portrayal of the state of the world. Since 1947, the Doomsday Clock has metaphorically represent the risk that we will succumb to human-made threats. And, the human-made threat, okay, is actually the ICBM missiles, the atomic threat, if you will. Okay. It says that we will succumb to human-made threats, with midnight representing Armageddon, which that phrase, that term is that word, if you will, is in the scriptures. Okay, okay, it's actually pronounced Harmagadwan. Um, you know, it means mountain of troops, and that's speaking about World War III actually, because that's what's going to cause the nations to launch their missiles war. Okay. uh, Isaiah 9:5, it says, for every battle. Okay, I think I'm gonna start up. Yeah, I'm gonna start right there. It says, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. It's the old way of doing warfare. Hand to hand combatants, troops on the ground with swords and spears and shields. You know, not guns. Okay, that's the old way. Okay, garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. So, what can you um, extrapolate from that statement right there? That future wars are going to be fought with fuel of fire. A gun, AK-47, whatever. You know what I mean? That's still a modern old way of doing battle. Even if guns are the sword, so to speak, is highly advanced now. But fuel of fire is specifically talking about nuclear missiles, because that's what it is, fuel of fire. Okay. It says, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. That son and child is Yahweh Shai. And the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty Power, the Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. And that's what he's going to bring. you know he's going to bring peace to this earth. um you know Yasharala, meaning teachers of peace, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to teach peace and make sure the earth is quiet before us. Okay, get back to this article real quick. Okay, it says, now we are closer to that than at any time in the last 80 years. Okay, which um, there's a theory uh, that Esau goes into. I was watching this video how there's an 80-year cycle, of peace. 20 is in increments of 20 years. You have peace, then you have prosperity, then you have moral decline, then you have war. I believe that's how it goes. And Lord willing, I'll do a video on it. You know, but it says hard-won global understandings are collapsing, accelerating a winner takes all great power competition, and undermining the international cooperation critical to reducing the risk of nuclear war. See that? Climate change, the misuse of biotechnology. Okay, the biotechnology is that CHIP. Okay, the potential threat of artificial intelligence. Yeah, that artificial intelligence, AI, man. Which Esau tends to rely on that. That's like his power. You know what I mean? helping him to give life to the image of the beast, man. You know, it says in other apocalyptic dangers, in apocalyptic dangers, the bulletin wrote in a statement, far too many leaders have grown complacent and indifferent, in many cases adopting rhetoric and policies that accelerate rather than mitigate these existing existing existential that word is a tongue twister, existential risk. Okay, which they basically saying that their own doom is arising from, their leaders right now, you know, especially specifically speaking of DJ Trump. Okay. And, you know, but that's his role. The law put him, in this position to, um, you know, keep this thing rolling and roll out these prophecies even faster than, than they have been rolling out. So, you know, because he only has a short time, man. You know. Okay, Job 20:5. It says, I'm gonna start at 4. It says, knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. Okay. Though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach unto the clouds, which, you know, is basically his proud, high mindedness that, he can replace the Most High. He can be the Most High. He can sit in the seat of the Most High. He got a God complex, you know. Yet shall he perish forever like his own dung. They which see him shall say, where is he? You see that? Here today, gone tomorrow, you know? Um, Let me see. Okay, Revelation 12:12. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil, okay, deceiver, which that's Esau Edom in a nutshell, is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. See that? So he has a short time. Okay. Um, and that's why he's trying to hurry up, trying to hurry up, you know. Mm, Revelation 20 and 3, it says, and cast him into the bottomless pit. Okay, that bottomless pit is speaking of a pit is a land, a certain land mass. The Lord's favorite pit is Israel, the land of Israel. Okay, that land is speaking about that bottomless pit is Europe, man. Because that place in Europe, okay, it's not fertile ground. You know, it's not fertile ground over there. It says, and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. Right. So that's what the modern historians refer to the dark ages. Dark because Jake was ruling. The 1,000 years between when the Western Roman Empire fell and until that I believe it's 1453 when the Ottoman Turks took out the last stronghold of Jake's Byzantine Empire. That's about 1,000 year span that Jake was ruling. It says, and after that he must be loosed a little season, right? So that little season is from 1453, till now, which when you look at it, that is only a little, half a century. That's a little season. Okay, compare that to the Israelites' rulership, which is going to be Iwalam forever. Okay, so be encouraged, brothers. You know what I mean? Like this thing is about to wrap up pretty soon here, man. I know it feels like a long time, but 1,000 years is just but one day for the Most High, man. So you know what I mean? When you look at it like that, okay, this is a very short span that we're in punishment compared to everlasting joy. You know what I mean? So be encouraged. You know what I mean? Lord willing, this was edifying. Till next time, I say shalom.